Hello everyone, and welcome to DrakeMakes. Liminal spaces. The phrase liminal space has become pretty popular. As far as I understand, this is in reference to images of surreal, empty spaces that may trigger an odd feeling of misplaced nostalgia. The scenes are often described as serene or tranquil, but many people will also say upon review of these liminal spaces that something feels off. The emptiness of the blank scenes, the lack of people where there should be, give liminal space photos a feeling of being just outside of reality, capitalizing on both the fear and imagination inspired by the unknown. Liminal spaces can be like gazing into some sort of unloaded dream. Speaking of dreams, while trends such as the backrooms are dominating the discussion of liminal spaces, I found myself fascinated by images of Dreampools. You've probably seen a few of these images floating around, surreal, tile-covered geometric pool scenes. Each render feels like it is part of some greater, impossible structure with little information as to how or why these structures even exist. Despite the recognizable, simple shapes, the dream pools feel completely alien, suspended in some limbo space of imagination. So let's make some. To Unreal Engine! So to get started, I began fooling around with some water. There's an experimental water plugin you can activate, so I did as such and began playing around with some water parameters. I kept things mostly default, just making the waves less gargantuan because pools aren't supposed to have tides and we want to make our otherworldly, impossible pool realistic. Once I had the water to a place I liked it, I then placed some cubes around to test some basic shapes and observe how object looked when submerged to see if this whole idea would even work. I was pretty satisfied with how that was looking, so I then found a tile texture off of Megascans that looked closest to the reference. I downloaded some wild 8K textures for no reason other than this zoom shot you're currently observing right now. Before I moved on to making the actual geometry for the scene, I opened up Google Images and started taking notes on reference. If you're lacking motivation, this was a surprisingly great way to get inspired. I also did some thumbnails during this time. With all of my planning done, I got to work learning how to use Unreal Engine's built-in geometry tools. This is like basic Blender modeling, adding edge loops and extruding out until I have a shape I want. I then reprojected the UV so the materials fit and began slapping together a dream pool. The first one was pretty rough as I was still getting my feet wet. Yeah, pun 100% intended, thank you. From the outside, the thing is quite ugly, but from where the shot is intended to be, it's kind of what we're looking for. So with those tools somewhat under my belt, I took a break before moving on to generate some more large-scale, complex liminal space pool scenes. was using spotlights to light the scenes, but eventually I changed the roof block so that they didn't cast shadows and ditched the invisible light setup. This gave the more natural daylight feeling of the original renders. I then placed some blocks that did cast shadows over the areas I wanted to disappear into darkness, like the hallways in the distance. Really just making it up as I went here, experimenting with the tools along the way. If you add too much detail to these scenes, they start to lose the feeling, which is why this project was great for getting used to the geometry tools. There's not really much else to say at this point, so enjoy the time lapses. The final renders are at the end of the video. Stay tuned. Done. I present the Dreampools. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next project.